This week on Non-Native Creative, I'm very happy to be sharing from Seoul and speaking with Erockfor, also known as Rocky, originally from Canada. She is an up-and-coming soul and world music singer and performer here in Seoul, and I had the chance to speak with her about the road that brought her here. She shared about how she encountered some career challenges in Canada and how eventually that led to her pursuing other options and coming to Korea in the end. She shared a lot about her creative passions, and she talked a lot about how she gradually shifted to doing entertainment work overseas. You'll hear a lot about the variety of things that inspire her, and she also shared a lot of really good advice for how to work towards your goals. Make sure to check her out on social media from the links in the description. Enjoy! On this week's episode of Non-Native Creative, I am very happy to be in Seoul, South Korea, and I'm introducing Erockfor, also known as Rocky, a singer here in the Seoul music scene. So thank you so much for coming to speak with me today. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I have many questions for you, but I want to begin our talk today with the same question that I ask everybody at the beginning of this series, which is to imagine yourself kind of as like an X-Men sort of character.
Okay.
And share with us, if you can, kind of your origin story. What was the thing that led to you being here doing music-related work? What was the thing that kind of sparked your interest, or an experience that you had that made you think, I'm going to go to another country and I'm going to pursue this really creative idea that I have? Do you have an origin story like that?
Okay. It's a little long.
Okay.
But I'll try to make it brief.
All right, I'm excited.
Okay, so I've always been singing. Like, music has always been my passion. But I've also been a writer. I worked as a writer and a translator, and I was self-employed back in Canada.
Okay.
And then at some point, my business wasn't working anymore. I wasn't getting as many clients, so I had to look for another source of income. And I looked into teaching abroad. Okay. And after watching a bunch of videos, I decided on Korea.
Okay.
So then I moved to Seoul, and I was teaching, but music is always something that I knew that I would have to go back to. Mm-hmm. And I did my poetry thing. I released a poetry book, and then after releasing the book, I'm like, you know what? Now it's time for me to dedicate my all to my music again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, there was a lot in there.
Yeah.
Okay. First, let's go back to first. So you're originally from Canada. Mm-hmm. So while you're in Canada, you're doing writing and writing related work. You mentioned poetry in there as well. Yeah. So you kind of had like this creative sort of, I guess, tilt maybe to your work to begin with then.
Yeah. Like
okay.
Writing short stories, writing poetry is something I've done for a long time. Before my clients, I was doing like mostly technical work, like technical translation. Okay. Writing blog posts, articles, things like that.
Okay. When you say technical translation, do you mean like translating from one language to another, or?
Yeah. So technical, I mean like translating like guidebooks for cars.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was like my main client.
Okay.
And I was doing translation from English to French, French to English, and I also had freelancers working with me doing like English to Chinese, Spanish.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. So it sounded like you had kind of like a multicultural environment that you were working with then.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, so you're a French speaker as well.
Yes, I do speak French.
Oh, French and English. Any others?
Basic Spanish. Like I minored in Spanish, but I haven't practiced it in so long, so
yeah.
it's right? Very rusty.
Right? I think there are probably so many people from North America that are in a similar boat.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I had some Spanish in high school, but beyond like, hola, ¿cómo estás? We're like, I forgot. Yeah. That's cool. And you can read Korean. I just asked you to read something and make sure that it was out of the shot over there. So,
I can read Korean, yeah, but
that's cool.
My Korean is very poor.
Okay, understandable. Because you've been in the country for a couple of years now, right?
Well, on and off for like 5-6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I moved here in 2014. I lived here for a year.
Okay.
And then I moved away. I moved to Macau. And then I spent some time in America and Canada. Then I moved back to Korea. And then I moved away again. And then I moved back.
Whoa. Okay. I'm like, I have to be really careful with like all my questions there. There are like so many different ways I want to go. So Korea, I guess the first place that I want to start then is why Korea of all the places? You said that you, at the beginning, that you kind of were like looking into English teaching, and there are so many countries where you can go to teach English. Like,
yeah.
Obviously like Japan is another very popular one. What was it that drew you to Korea specifically?
Yeah, I watched a lot of videos and I just fell in love with Seoul. I'm like, this is such a cool place. I love the fashion. The food looks really cool. I've tried, yeah, up until that point, I hadn't even tried Korean food.
Whoa.
Actually, I'm like, oh, the food looks good.
It is. Good job with the food, Koreans. I love Korean food. It's good. It's good.
And yeah, and there's like a substantial like foreigner population here too.
Right.
So like, yeah, basically those things: the culture, the music, the language too. I started learning how to read it before I moved. So I'm like,
cool.
Okay, I can move here and I'm gonna learn Korean, and it's gonna be great.
Nice, nice. That's cool. So you had like a little like kind of motivation, like cultural excitement, motivation, and then like you gave yourself kind of a steady background. And then okay, so you came. You said 2014 for the first time?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after some time here, you decided, I think you said next was Macau?
Yeah.
After that. So that was that also like to teach English?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I also moved there to teach English.
And then you decided to come back eventually.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned kind of going to a few different places, I think. But so from like your experience in Macau, was there something that you had, like some experience you had there that made you think like, no, I think Korea is better for me?
Well, after Macau, I wanted to move to California. Like that was the plan. Teaching is not my passion. I don't know if I can say that.
You are allowed to say that things are not your passion. Yes.
Yeah, teaching is not my passion. So after Macau, I'm like, you know what? I want to go back into trying to be a writer or trying to make my main source of income from writing again.
Okay.
So I applied to a bunch of jobs in the States, and one looked like it was going to happen. And then like last minute, they're like, okay, after like a million interviews, you're not right for the job. So I was like, snap.
Sucks.
So then I went, because my family, I have family in Atlanta right now. So I spent some time in Atlanta doing work online, like writing for different clients. And then I went back and forth between Canada and the States. And then I started missing Korea. I would see videos about Korea and I'm like, oh man, I miss that place.
Yeah.
I want to go back.
It got into you, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to move back. I'm going to teach again because it's a steady source of income.
Sure.
But I'm also going to finally release my poetry book because I was writing poetry
Nice.
at the same time. So I'm going to finally release my poetry book. And then after that, I'm going to go back to music. Like that was my plan.
Okay. And now, I guess then, we're kind of at this point where you are now doing music. You've released this poetry book, and now you're actively working on building like a music career kind of here in Seoul's music scene. So can you maybe share a little bit about what kind of music that you're doing?
Okay. So at night, I sing jazz. I sing at a jazz bar, you could say. And I've done shows at different jazz bars around Seoul, and I went to Busan to do a jazz bit at on a cruise ship. And so jazz, but I also do world music, I would say. My parents are from Cameroon, so I experiment with West African sounds, and I like hip hop as well. So I just love experimenting with different sounds. But like at night, I sing jazz.
Cool. That's super cool. So what's sort of been like the response to your performances? Do you get like lots of people who are, I guess what I want to say is like, what kind of audience do you get at your performances?
So mostly Korean people come to my shows, and they really like it. I don't know why it surprised me, but I think the response I get is just they're so enthusiastic and very excited, and yeah, it makes me happy. Like even though there's the language barrier, we can still connect on like through music.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So you've been doing your performances mostly in Seoul, and then you mentioned Busan as well.
Yeah.
So are you thinking to focus your music work then in Korea, or do you kind of have ideas about like maybe taking it to another country in Asia, or maybe taking it back to North America? Like, do you have any kind of like dreams for where you want to go with that?
Well, I want to perform all over the place. And like right now I'm releasing my music online, and I've gotten some coverage like from other countries. So I really want to be known worldwide.
Miss Worldwide over here. Oh god, that was such a cheesy joke. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, cool. That sounds really cool. And I saw kind of like one of the things that you're working on for 2020, one of your projects is releasing a single every month. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So at like the end of the year, is it going to be like you've made a whole album kind of thing?
I have a plan.
Okay,
and it's changed a few times. But like I have like over 12 songs at this point.
Okay.
But at some point I want to surprise you guys with an EP.
Oh.
I'm not saying when, but an EP is coming.
Oh, that sounds cool. Because you already have one kind of, I don't know what the right word here is, like one like major single that has a music video to accompany it. Yeah. How Will I Know?
Yes.
Right? So that was something, you made the music video for that here in Seoul,
Yes,
right?
I did. Yeah.
What was the process of doing that like? Like, how did you work together with people here to make that happen? Like, if somebody told me, okay, Alicia, make a music video in Japan, I would be like, oh my gosh. I'd be like, oh my god. Like, I work with like video. It's part of my job, like video and audio. But like thinking about like the challenges of all of like the production, you know, finding various people doing like auditions, because you have like, it's not just you in the video. Like there's a bunch of people in the video like dancing or like they're singing along to the song or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what was the process of making your music video like here?
Okay. Well, I contacted my friend Eunice Lee. She's
Okay.
Korean American and she's a videographer.
Oh, okay.
She's like really, really good. So I contacted her and then I came to her with my concept. And then together we created the story. And I asked my friends, like the people in the music video, they were my friends. So,
Cool. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So it wasn't like you had to go and like get auditions for like people,
No.
dancers or like actors or whatever. That's
Yeah.
awesome, though.
I know a lot of creative people, so that really helped. Yeah.
Awesome. So it was very much like a group of friends working together to make the production happen.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's super cool. So it sounds like in addition to having, you know, like work experience, you also have experience just, you know, building kind of a community around you here in Seoul as well. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, then kind of I want to shift a little bit then to we're sort of starting to talk about it. Your experiences, not necessarily just doing like your creative projects in Korea, but then maybe more like broadly about maybe the challenges that you've found of working in Korea, because like you've mentioned, like it was so great to work with your fellow maybe like foreign or creative friends here, but have you found anything that's kind of challenging about being in Korea and working in Korea?
Okay. I had an idea, but then it slipped away.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's gonna come back.
Yeah. So like sometimes like when we talk about like challenges of working in Japan, of course like language barrier is one.
Yeah, definitely.
But at least in Japanese society, a lot of people will talk about how it's difficult for lots of us who come from really direct cultures to learn to be like less direct. Like that's one challenge that a lot of people from Japan have described. So it's not like a person to person thing always, but just kind of a general thing that we're not very good at sometimes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm very direct. I remember at one job, I didn't like the work environment, and I felt like it wasn't, like the contract wasn't being honored. So a lot of the time I would just like, during meetings, I would speak up like, this is not right. Like,
Okay.
you know? So at some point they're like, you know what? You can leave. You can leave if you want. We're going to give you a letter of release. We just don't want any problems.
Oh, I see. So it was a mismatch kind of thing?
Yeah, it was just definitely a mismatch. And I guess maybe I was bad for morale.
Okay.
Because I would just like point out certain things. And there were things that my coworkers noticed as well. But like, they didn't want to like ruffle feathers.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of like you just don't want to like, even if you see something is wrong, you're kind of like, it's a little bit troublesome to deal with it. Like, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That exists in Japan too, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I didn't really care. I'm just like, this is not right.
I see. So you're just going to say it.
Yeah, that's, because like by nature, I'm very introverted. And I'm not going to be the one to just be talking all the time. But when I have something to say, I will say it.
I see.
Yeah. And that can sometimes be a problem, you know, depending on the situation.
Depending, sure.
Yeah.
So then I guess it kind of sounds like, you know, working in Korea then is a little bit similar to Japan in that respect. That's like more like, maybe there's sometimes we don't need to be so direct. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We've got some issues. Okay. So that's one thing then that's maybe challenging. Then on like the flip side then, is there anything that you just like really, really love about working here and living here?
I really loved that it was so easy for me to start performing here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It wasn't as easy in Montreal. Here you can reach out to bars, to venues, and you can perform there. Mm-hmm. And also I have a lot of musician friends who like hooked me up with different opportunities. Mm-hmm. And then you can work with agents. Like I have a few agents that I work with for acting too.
Oh, wow.
So okay. I do a little bit of that. Like I just really like dove into acting and singing in a way that I felt I couldn't in Montreal.
Okay. So when you say like in terms of like the accessibility of jobs and stuff, do you mean that like it's easier like to find bookings and places that are interested in like in doing those kinds of performances?
Yeah.
Or like just also from a very like boring perspective, like is it easy also in terms of like is there like visa flexibility too? Like I'm just not specific to your situation, but if I'm like a person that wants to like come to Korea, for example, and it's like I want to be a performer, like I don't like in Japan it's kind of tough to get like a visa specifically for a performer. Like most people I think get like they get like a regular work visa and then they have like an extra permission thing like tacked on that's like I would also like to do this job, please. Like that's kind of outside of like their regular visa permission. I don't know how strict Seoul or Korea's visa things are, but like
well, it's pretty strict, I would say. Like I was on an E2, which is a teacher visa, and even when I was doing that, I could still do certain acting jobs. But the big companies, they wanted to work with artists who were on an E6, an entertainer visa.
Gotcha.
And to get that entertainer visa, it's not as hard actually as I thought it would be. Actually, in March, I'm going to get it.
Oh, cool.
Like an agency here is sponsoring me, and I just have to go to Japan to get the visa because you have to leave the country and then come back.
Oh, cool. We can hang out.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I'll be in Japan in March. But yeah, so basically you just need to pay the price. It's like a million won, so like $1,000 ish for the visa. Ooh. And then
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah,
like for when we have to like, is that the cost just to get the visa?
Yeah, that's the cost to get the visa, and then depending on what agency you go with, some of them take a percentage of all your jobs, whatever jobs you find. Right. But the one I'm with, they take a percentage of jobs they find for you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty typical. Like any kind of like agent in basically any entertainment field I've ever heard of, like they have like a certain commission that they take.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's pretty normal. Oh, wow, that's so expensive. Like getting visas in Japan, well, admittedly it's like a work visa, just renewing like a work visa is like $40.
Okay.
Is that really expensive? Are visas generally really expensive in Korea?
For my teacher visa, no, that wasn't expensive. But I guess for entertainers, I don't know.
Why is the entertainment visa so expensive? That seems really...
That's a good question.
That seems like... Oh, I'm so curious about that. Like, because that seems like a visa that like... It's hard to get started in the entertainment business, let alone getting started in like another country. Why would you make it so expensive?
Yeah, it's so expensive, and then there's like no guarantee that you're actually gonna find work. Yeah. So it's like you pay all this money, like you go into your savings, and then you hope for the best.
Yeah, you know? That's rough. But I mean, it sounds like you kind of took like a good road to get there. Like you had a job established, and then you were building these connections, and now you're finally able to make that next step. So
yeah, exactly.
That seems like a really safe route, I think.
Yeah, safer, but yeah, like we discussed about Corona, like
oh yeah,
like that made a lot of opportunities kind of slip away because you know people shouldn't be congregating right now, so you know people's priorities aren't like going to a show. So. Exactly.
Yeah, for those listening and or watching, we're recording this interview in the midst of the COVID-19 coronavirus issue. We're recording this at the end of February 2020, and the situation is not great.
Yeah,
like people. Yeah, but I mean, like that's an important reality, I guess. You know, if your audience is not available for whatever reason, it's like that's going to impact your job for sure. So hopefully, there will be some, some solutions in place soon, and like before spring, one can hope, but you never know. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's one cool thing. It's like being able to find like places to perform and having these cool connections and stuff like that. Have you ever, just out of curiosity, I have not, like, have you ever looked into like trying to perform in like Canada or in the States at all?
I performed in Canada a few times. Like I made a show. I made my own show, so I performed there, and then like other things like here and there I would perform at. But I would say that when I was in Canada, I wasn't as serious about it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I remember when I was young, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be famous by 19.
Oh, wow. You know? Oh, you had like a roadmap.
But then it's like
19. Whoa.
But like looking back, I'm like, I didn't do anything to make that a reality, you know? Right? It's like I had this big dream, but I wasn't putting in the work.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually putting in the work.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like, I can't really speak on the music scene that much in Montreal because, like, I feel like I didn't try my best when I was there.
Okay.
But, like, here I'm just, like, very, like, much so. Like, I go on Craigslist, I reach out to venues, I'm releasing music, like, I'm very proactive.
Right. And that's so important, because I think so many of us can relate to what you just described, like, being like, I'm going to be this thing by the time I'm, like, what you said 19.
Yeah.
Wow. But then you don't realize, you're like, oh, I have to actually do things to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like someone's just gonna find you on Instagram and say, here, would you like this amazing offer? Like, you have to be able to show a body of work and to show that, like, you're putting in the effort to make it happen.
Exactly.
It's like, it's unrealistic to expect that someone's just gonna drop this great, like, cool, famous life into your lap. Yeah. So that's that's a really good lesson. Like, and I think I'm in the same boat as you. It's like, I didn't realize, like, or maybe I did realize, but I was just too lazy for a long time. Like, for a long time I was like, oh, I really want to do something, and then it was like, well, if you want to do these things, then you have to do them yourself, so you learn a lot through that process, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you ever think back to, like, when you first came to Korea and, like, compare yourself now to, like, that time? So that would have been 6 years ago, 5.5, 6 years ago now for you. Like, do you notice any big changes in yourself since then?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not as shy. Like, I remember moving here and I'm like, no one knows me here, so I can be a totally different person. And then I was the same person, I was the same person because, just because you move doesn't mean you're going to change. It's like through experiences that you change. So I had to go through experiences, and that's how I am the person I am now. Like, I started doing burlesque maybe 2 years ago.
Wow.
And that's what made me so comfortable as a performer. Because, like, once you strip, you're not shy as much when you're fully clothed, So I was singing and doing burlesque at the same time, like, in my performance.
Okay.
So I got over that stage fright, and now I feel, like, super comfortable performing.
I imagine that was probably, like, a real moment, like, where you're like, there's this point where it's like, your performance is at this one level, and then you're like, okay, I want to add this aspect into my performance, but oh my gosh, did you feel, like, really nervous the first time you did it?
Oh yeah, definitely. And my friend at the time, she was part of an all-black burlesque group, like the only one in Korea.
Okay.
So she asked me if I wanted to be part of it. So I'm like, oh sure, because at the time I was like, I'm just gonna say yes to everything and just try new things. So I said yes, and when I said yes, I'm like, why did I say yes? Like, this is so outside of my comfort zone. But then, like, I did it, and I'm like, wow, this is really fun. And then the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. And then I got involved with Starlight Productions, which is like a burlesque/theater group in Korea.
Okay.
And so I started doing plays with them, and then I got, like, extra comfortable. And yeah, I just love it.
Oh wow! So now, like, that's also part of your performance, or that's a different kind of performance that you do?
That's a different kind of performance, but I want to be able to, like, bring them together at some point somehow.
I see.
Yeah,
that'd be really interesting. Like, if you haven't, like, I've heard a couple. I heard your single, the music video, and then I heard the track that you released in January, I think.
Oh, okay. Questions.
Yeah, I heard those two, and, like, the sound of your voice, like, the way that you have kind of the you have like a very jazzy-ish like sound, but at the same time you have like a real like kind of like in a good way like kind of gritty like cool sound to your voice too. And I feel like that sort of matches like, or I could see how that would pair really interestingly with like a burlesque style performance, or like integrating aspects of like burlesque dance. I feel like I could totally see how that would integrate like with the sound that you have too. Yeah, thanks. That's really cool. Wow, you have many different experiences. But like I'm actually really excited because your experience is so different from mine. Like I would never have imagined like doing the things and like reaching out to the people that you've reached out to. So I think that's really, really cool. Maybe just kind of bringing the conversation back as to your music then. Are there any like kind of as you work on like this project to create a track every month, are there any kind of themes, or are there any kind of like topics that you really want to focus on with your music? Or you've mentioned like your parents from Cameroon, and you've kind of integrated like African sounds, and you used the world music earlier. Like, is there like a specific topic or something that you really want to focus on with your work?
I would say freedom through expression, and also not feeling the pressure, like not giving into the pressure of like following a certain path. Okay. And just like dancing to the beat of your own drum. Like that's the main message of Questions, and that's like the overall message of the whole project, I would say. Okay. So kind of like exploring, who you are individually, and not worrying about like how is someone gonna like perceive me, or worrying about like other people's kind of expectations. Yeah, exactly. I see. Is that something that you've been able to kind of let go of a little bit over the last few years since you've been here? Yeah, I would say, like, especially with since doing burlesque, like there's certain content that I don't want to post to my Facebook, because on my Facebook there's people from back home, and I'm like, oh, I don't want them to see these pictures, they're gonna think this and that about me. But at some point I'm just like, you know what, I know who I am, and it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So I share, and so far no one has said anything bad to me. Yeah, well, I've seen like in like when I found you as I was looking for cool people to talk to on this trip, I was like, on your Instagram, for example, you have like really cool like body paint pictures as well. Like, what is that? I don't even know where to start with this line of question. Like, I was like, whoa, like, because they're really like striking. The pictures that you shared, like, they're really, really striking, cool, like brightly colored, like body paint and stuff like that. Like, I feel like there's a very like the images that you post, they really like are eye catching. Like, they really pop. Is that something that you're kind of like drawn to? Yeah, definitely. I reached out to an artist here. His name is Corey. He's Canadian, and he does body art, and like he has a great Instagram page. So I'm like, okay, I want to be painted by him. And I kind of debated about it again. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be naked and he's going to paint me. Yeah. Like, I feel like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that, but I'm like, you know what? You can do it. It's going to be fun. So I reached out, and he asked me like what type of drawing I wanted, and I'm like, well, I'm African and I sing, so we decided to do like a musician. Like, he painted this like a musician on my body, and like with like African inspired art essentially, and it turned out really nice. I really liked it. It was really, so you didn't know that guy before you reached out to him? You just knew of him on Instagram? Yeah, I knew of him, and also he had worked with a few of my friends. Oh, okay. So he was kind of, you had some connections then. Yeah, exactly. And we live in the same neighborhood. Like, I live in the neighborhood with a lot of foreigners and a lot of artsy people. Okay. Yeah. Was that, just out of curiosity, when you asked him for the, I guess, painting, when you asked him for the body painting, was that before or after you'd started doing burlesque? That was after. Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. That would be like a really big hurdle, just like to suddenly one day, like, hello, can I please make an appointment for you to paint my naked body? But that's really cool. Like, that's something I'm still very much, I don't think I would be comfortable doing that, but so that's really, but you were able to create like this really cool, like, artistic, result together. So that's awesome. Let's see. We've only got like another 15 minutes left. Oh my gosh. I want to make sure we have a chance then to talk about kind of like future stuff, because like we've been focusing a bit like on the past and kind of your past experiences and how you got to where you are now. But I want to ask a bit too about what you have coming up too. Like, we've talked about
your project to make a track every month throughout 2020.
Yeah.
But kind of what are kind of like the next steps, or like where do you see yourself going in terms of like your music career, or like with poetry as well? What's kind of like the next steps for you?
Okay. Well, I have a single coming out on Sunday.
Okay.
So that's my third one that's coming out.
Oh.
Yes.
Is that your February track?
Yes, that's my February track.
We'll check it. Everybody's going to check it. I'll put a link in the description so we can all check it.
Thank you. So that's coming out. And I have more tracks that I'm going to release. Essentially, I want to get a record deal out of this. I want to do festivals around the world. And basically, I'm just working on getting exposure for my music and doing shows.
Cool.
Yeah, that's basically my main source of income is from performing.
Right.
Here. Yeah.
Right. So when you say like, doing festivals and stuff, are there lots of like, I have no idea, music festival opportunities specifically like for the type of music that you're doing here in Korea?
In Korea, there are a few. I wouldn't say a lot. But I'm going to apply to different festivals around Asia as well. Like once I have a body of work, like once I have my EP, then I'm really going to start pitching myself.
I see.
Yeah.
So once you have this thing kind of like to show people, like this is a good example of my work,
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, I see. Then what about like, would you be just open to, going to different countries and like playing festivals in different countries as well if you had that opportunity?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, because I know like there's a big underground music scene in Japan for sure. Like I have cool. Acquaintances, like, cause I like music. I like kind of like jazzy, soul-y, like house funk sorts of things, and like through just going to friends DJ events here and there over the years, like you make connections with people and stuff, and like it opened my eyes to this whole like underground, not even underground in some cases, like these really cool like jazz or like these crossover events that are just awesome, and all these people come out that just really really love it. So I'm sure like there are opportunities here and there throughout Asia, to explore that more. In keeping with the same theme of like of work and stuff, then when you think of now and all of the projects that you're working on now, do you ever think back like to when you were younger, and then like you already kind of touched on this a little bit, like not doing the work when you were like a teenager that you needed to do, but like if you could say something like give your younger self advice, or if like there's somebody that's like watching or listening that's like I think I might like to go to Korea, or I'd like to do something creative in Korea, like is there anything that you know now that you wish you had known 5 or 6 years ago?
I would say don't hide certain parts of yourself. Like, don't hide the fact that you create. There's certain, like, even the fact that I write poetry. Like, right now that I'm focusing on music, like, my poetry and, like, my journalistic background, I just, like, never mention it. But that's part of my story. And I think by not sharing those parts, you're kind of limiting yourself. You never know who you might be able to have a connection with, and then they can, like, connect you with other people that could help you in different ways.
Right. That's a great point. Just this morning, I was reading this article about someone who was talking about how difficult it is to like sustain yourself. They were using the example of a writer, but people who say like, I write full time. It's like, it's such like a privilege to be able to have like time and space to do creative work. So it's, if anything, it's good to say, I have these other jobs too. I have this other background too, because then it shows like, you're not just living on like this creative work. It's, well, maybe some people are. I suppose. For sure. But in most cases, it's like we do have to do many different things, and we have many different backgrounds that we put together to make our lives possible. So I think that is such a good point, like having, you said like a journalistic background as well. Like I think, did you mention that earlier? I feel like I didn't pick up on that word.
Well, I didn't mention that it was journalism. I just said like writing. But I have worked for like magazines in Montreal.
Okay, so that was kind of the maybe like where you started with like education wise then.
Yeah, I studied like cinema and communications and English literature and translation, like at different stages.
I was gonna say it sounds like you have very kind of like very sort of like multicultural related interests initially, and like and media interests as well too. For sure. But your point about like just sharing little bits of yourself and not trying to hide those things, like I agree with that so much. Like knowing when is the right time to share like this certain part of your background can really help, like, you know, make friends and make connections. And I think that that's really, really important too, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good advice. That's good advice for anybody. I feel like not even like younger people that are thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would say someone definitely should do? Like, so we're saying, you mentioned like don't hide yourself, you know, like make sure to, you know, be who you are. Is there anything that you would say like definitely do this if you want to, you know, like come to Korea, or if you want to, you know, pursue like creative things here? Do you have advice for people, like something they definitely should do?
Okay, so if they want to, like, what if they want to do, if they want to paint, if they want to sing, they need to do those things and not wait to, you know, not to wait to be hired to do it. Like you can, I don't know, organize your own thing, you know, if that's what you have to do, you know, like organize your own show, like rent out like a venue and then make your own show. Or if you want to paint, well, paint and then like show your work online, and then who knows, use the right hashtags, and then who knows who you might be able to connect with. Just my advice is just to do. Cool. Yeah, and that helps with like imposter syndrome as well. Like sometimes when I feel like bad about like where I'm at, I'm like, I just sing and I write and I'm like, you know what, you're pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
You kind of have to remind yourself, and creating is a perfect reminder of your purpose. You know, what you do and who you are matters.
Totally. Oh man, I was very touched by your words. That's awesome. That's super awesome. Yeah, but imposter syndrome is so true for so many people, even like that in like the creative world. But like that moment of, oh, nothing is going well for me, I suck so much. Yeah, getting up and just doing whatever your thing is helps so much. It helps you get out of that rut. Like, is that something you've like struggled with? Oh, I know I totally have. So I'll like watch videos back, or like I'll watch like, you know, or I'll find like files in my computer of stuff that I made and been like, what was I thinking? I thought this was good. Like,
yeah.
You know, past work. Yeah.
The thing is, we always grow, and we're always going to look back on past work and say, oh, we could have done this better. But the thing is, people are still touched by what we do. We always are harsher on ourselves than other people are. Like, for example, I was reading my poetry book and I was like, oh, I could have done this poem better. I could have changed this. I could have changed that. But then I was like reading the reviews on Goodreads and like on Amazon, and like people really connected with my work. So I'm like, you know what? You're really hard on yourself. Just like be proud of yourself, you know, like, what's this? Pat yourself on the back. Yeah, what's that word? What's that expression?
I was like, dust it off.
Yeah, dust off your shoulder.
Shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off.
That too.
Yeah.
The haters. Yeah. But also pats.
Yeah, pat yourself on the back. And it's like, yeah, you've accomplished a lot, and we achieve and then we forget.
Yeah.
And then disappointment always sticks around longer. So I think it's good to always look back on what we've done. And yes, be like, okay, I could have done this better, but it's still, your project is still worth something. And it's still, if one person saw it, who knows how that affected them.
Oh, that's awesome. Man, this is very inspirational talk.
Oh, cool.
I'm so glad I got the chance to talk with you. We have maybe like another 5 to 6 minutes left, so I want to make very sure that we all have an opportunity to find you wherever we possibly can. You have mentioned a couple of different things. First, your poetry book. I haven't spoken to you a lot about your poetry book. You've released it for purchase somewhere?
Yeah, it's on Amazon, Kindle, other bookstores online.
What can we search for to find you if we want to check out your poetry on Amazon?
Okay,
I'll put a link somewhere too.
Okay, it's called Bluebird. And Magda Ayuk, that's my author name. I have various names, as well as various passions.
International woman of mystery over here. Wait, is that a thing? Like, do you have like a name for each sort of like work that you do? You have like a poetry name, and then like a music name, and then like a teacher name, or?
Well, I would say 2 names. So okay. I have my writer name, Magda Ayuk, and then I have like my singer name. Erockfor, or Rocky for short. But then like I have a bunch of different nicknames. Like people call me a lot of things. Okay.
What's the background on the writer name, the book for your poetry book?
Oh, that's my name.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, my full name is like Magdalene, but Magda for short.
Magda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Erockfor is my middle name. I'm named after my great grandma.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Actually, that's a really cool way to sort of separate your passions. I've never heard of that before. That's cute. I like it. Okay. So we have Bluebird is the name of your poetry book that we can find on Amazon. And then we can find you your music on I've listened on Spotify. I know. Can we find you on SoundCloud? You have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I do.
Where I saw your YouTube music video. So where is the best place to find all of your updates, all of your information?
Okay, I would say the best place would be Instagram because I posted that a lot, and there's a link up with my YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple. So Instagram is Erockfor.
Okay.
Should I spell it out, or maybe you're gonna?
I will put a link in the description. I'll put a link so whether you're listening on podcast version or watching on YouTube, check the link for her Instagram account information, and I think I'll put your homepage in there too. I'll put all the social media I have access to and your book as well. Is there anything else we should include there? You have so many projects. I feel like you might be oh, I also have this other thing that I do.
I think that's about it. I mean, I act. I mentioned that. But yeah, it's
awesome. Awesome. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of our time, so I'll ask, I guess, one more kind of forward-thinking question about who inspires you? Is there anything or anyone's work that you're wow, I just love what that person or that group is doing. I would love to work with them someday.
Okay. I love Missy Elliott.
Oh, classic. Yeah.
She is so, out there. Her music videos have always been amazing and futuristic. And I love the way she writes as well. Missy's songs, there's always a part that people are always going to, be repeating. And that's what I try to do with my music as well. There has to be a part that gets stuck in people's heads. Okay. And she's really good at that.
Yeah. Oh, she even reversed music in her song famously,
Oh yeah.
And that's the part that everybody remembers is the nonsense.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So cool. Yeah. Oh man, Missy Elliott, she's so classically cool too, right? Oh. Yeah. That's awesome. Man, okay. Well, I think I'll wrap it up here. Unless there's anything burning that you would like to finish on. Any closing thoughts?
Any closing thoughts would be just love yourself and share yourself, and you're worth the extraordinary. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. This was really, really fun.
Yeah, it was. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Non-Native Creative. If you liked this episode, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Feel free to leave comments about this episode in the comments section too. Please make sure to stop by the project Patreon at patreon.com/nonnativeCreative. Patrons can get access to Patreon-only discussions, bonus behind-the-scenes media, interview transcripts, and access to patron-only live streams. Your support will help make sure the series can continue to share exciting, interesting stories from creative people working across borders. Thanks again for watching. See you next week.